I'll be talking about 5 different wave concepts: wavelength versus frequency, transverse versus longitudinal waves, the electromagnetic spectrum, reflection, and absorption. Wavelength versus frequency. Wavelength is a measure of the distance between several sound waves and is used to measure the length of a sound wave in meters. Different tones or pitches of waves, such as sound waves, are determined by the length of a wave. When waves are closer together, the sounds made are higher, whereas when they are further apart, the sounds are lower. However, frequency is a measure of time and how often a sound wave occurs. As sound waves travel at the speed of sound, waves with a shorter wavelength reach your ears quicker than those with a longer wavelength. This is the frequency. Things with low frequencies are earthquakes, and things with high frequency include ultrasounds. A transverse wave is one in which the particles of the medium travel in a direction that is perpendicular to the wave's motion. If we think back to the Slinky experiment, we all know that when the Slinky is stretched out in a horizontal direction, a pulse is introduced into the Slinky on the left end by vibrating the first coil up and down. The transverse waves are always defined by particle motion perpendicular to the wave motion. Examples of transverse waves include ripples on the surface of water, vibrations on a guitar string, and electromagnetic waves. Particles of longitudinal waves travel parallel to the direction the wave moves. Thinking back to the Slinky experiment, we'll know that when the Slinky is stretched out in a horizontal direction, a pulse is introduced into the Slinky on the left end by vibrating the first coil from left to right. Examples of longitudinal waves include ultrasound waves, sound waves, and seismic waves. The electromagnetic spectrum is the range of all types of EM radiation. Without it, our universe wouldn't be able to operate, we wouldn't be able to see, stars wouldn't shine, and life wouldn't exist. All the electromagnetic waves are transverse waves that travel at the same speed as the vacuum and can be reflected, refracted, and diffracted. All the electromagnetic waves have different properties, uses, and dangers. Almost all our understanding of how things work as we know it comes from the information carried on the electromagnetic spectrum. These frequencies correlate to various degrees of radiation, which is the transfer of energy in the form of waves and particles across the cosmos. Lower frequency radiation has significantly longer wavelengths, implying that the distance between radiation waves can be several kilometers. Higher frequency radiation, on the other hand, has very small wavelengths, measured in trillions of a meter. The spectrum ranges from waves with high wavelengths on the left side to waves with a smaller wavelength on the right side of the spectrum. Waves with a small wavelength have a high frequency. For example, gamma rays have the smallest wavelength but the highest frequency. Radio waves have the largest wavelength but the smallest frequency. Reflection. When light or other kinds of electromagnetic radiation waves collide with a surface or other boundary that does not absorb the energy of the radiation, the waves bounce away from the surface. An example of visible light reflection is the surface of a pool of water, where light is reflected to produce an image of the scenery surrounding the pool. Another form of reflection is light from a mirror. Its smooth reflective surface renders a virtual image of the observer from the light that is reflected directly back into their eyes. Smooth surfaces reflect light to form clear images. When a wave collides with a surface or barrier that does not absorb all of the wave's energy, it bounces back or reflects. All types of waves can be reflected. For example, reflections of sound waves are called echoes and are used to help animals learn about their environments. Absorption is the transfer of energy from waves to matter as the wave passes through it. As the wave passes through a substance, its amplitude steadily decreases, meaning it contains less energy and is transferring more of it. All known transparent substances show absorption to some degree. Sometimes at the beach, when the sand is too hot to stand on, the heat given off by the sand is the product of the electromagnetic waves from the sun that the beach is absorbing. When you see waves coming towards the shore, the waves are transferring their energy to the sand. Absorption of certain frequencies of light occurs when the energy is not transferred through or reflected by the given medium. Absorbing any wavelength of electromagnetic radiation causes objects or substances to get warmer and convert the absorbed energy to infrared radiation.